dun, dun, dun. Guys, welcome back to the Oasis. Can you believe it? Look at this. Somebody's almost ready to turn the power on to the waterfalls. I'm super excited to be introducing you to the next 3 episodes. I wish I could tell you exactly what's gonna happen. So much stuff has gone on and is going on. Patio work, plant work, boulder work, log work, irrigation, gas lines, you name it. We've been doing it out here. It's like a spider web of stuff under the ground, and we're starting to dust off the flowers on top. You guys enjoy the ride. I'm trying to do as much teaching and sharing as I can. Like, comment, subscribe, ask us down there in the comments stuff that you want to know more about. I'll try to create content suited specifically to our viewers. Guys, thanks for joining the Adams family, the creation of the Oasis, where we are turning my plain vinyl siding house into the most amazing aquatic paradise that you have ever seen. Stay tuned. I have to drive to Missouri to Simcoe Stone, pick out some amazing limestone boulders because allegedly I may have decided to build the swim pond at the Oasis out of Missouri limestone. Jump in the car with me, guys. I'm gonna make a quick trip out, 24 hours round trip to Simcoe, St. Louis, pick out boulders and back. Stay tuned, ride along, I'm out. Those are some BATs right there, kids. Well, my people, I finally made it 425 miles later. I'm at Simcoe Stone. How many times have I told you how important it is to pick out your rock? Everybody asks me how I do my designs. I do them by feeling, and I pick the rocks that feel right. That's how important it is. When I'm making all of these custom fountains that I'm putting together and picking out the stones for my personal water feature, I gotta lay eyes on these things. I gotta mark the rocks that speak to me. That's why I'm here. That's why I drove 425 miles each way just to pick out a couple loads of rock, because that's how important it is to me. That's how important it should be to you to get exactly what you're looking for. Or you can just call somebody and order a couple pallets of rock and get what you get. Whatevs. I'm gonna go out here and drool over these amazing stones. Look at the details. You can't stifle my excitement when I look at these rocks. This is the kind of thing I come this far for. This stone is about 10 feet long, about 2 feet high. I don't know if you can just see the crevice wash through this rock right here will create the most natural looking waterfall into my pond. Guys, that's exactly what I'm looking for in the Oasis. Small, discreet, just ribbons of water coming in. You're gonna recognize this rock later on. Keep your eyes peeled. All right, kids, that's it. I have to shut myself down. I picked out 36 pallets of some of the most gorgeous boulders. You guys stay tuned, because we're gonna put together some super sweet stuff out of these Missouri limestones. I'm gonna drive 7 hours back to the homestead. I'm out. John G. gone. Well, I guess you know I took off because of my own personal hiatus. If you don't, what was going on with the project? Things were crazy. I had a lot going on in my personal life. There was just so much going in this skull that I was having a meltdown. I was being a bad influence to my own project. What should have been the most amazing project of my entire life wasn't even being fun because my head was in the wrong place. So I boogied and I went to some places to see some people that I knew would help me get my head right. I went and visited some of my grandkids. I went and visited some of my friends. I went and shared time with people who have swim ponds completed already at their place so that I could just soak up a little bit of their love and a little bit of their joy and get that in my heart so that I could come back and focus on the project. Oh, I did manage to accidentally land in a boat for a couple days too, potentially. Let me tell you what I come back to. I'm gonna try to not turn this into a total chaos story, but man, when you're doing a project this big, you better be ready for a mess because I came back to this place and it was raining and raining and raining. And let's start walking around and look at the different things that have happened. All of this perfectly brand new gravel that we bought. And when we walk up here in a little while, you're gonna see the state of what the grass was like. And some of it's grown back in already because a little bit of time has passed. And it's been raining for days. And it's just flowing straight down across my new graded driveway. This part of the yard over here is solid dirt. My whole yard was like that all the way across. Let's get to some good stuff, eh? Some things come to mind as I walk back in here and look at this, and you can see how much water this reservoir holds. I mean, well over the intended amount. There's gotta be 10,000 gallons of water in my reservoir. That makes me super happy. The waterfall is beautiful. That makes me super happy. I have some issues in here that we got to handle. All this water running down onto the patio and it runs straight up into the edge of this log. That's got to be dealt with. It'll look good when I get it all cleaned up, but I'm constantly going to have the water that beats against this side of the house all flowing down, all going across the patio right into my reservoir. Not interested in having that in my koi pond. So I have a drainage issue that I have to handle in here. I have to tie these pavers into the edge of this. There's light wires run all over. I mean, it seriously is the most chaotic mess of tangled wires. I sure it looked cool at night, but when the sun comes on, there's cables everywhere. There's no sense to it. There's no way to replace any of the lights in here. They have to be run through conduits. Something has to happen to organize and coordinate all this stuff because I can tell you something, every light eventually will run out. So it's very important to me that I get all this organized and nice and neat and tidy, and most importantly, it's got to be serviceable after the fact. So that has to be handled. I've got all of this plumbing that goes to these fountains down in here. Now I'm gonna get more elaborate with the fountains. I went and bought a whole pallet of this beautiful thin flagstone because I want to do slate work around the fountains, but I've got a whole nother pile of basalt rocks up there. I want to mix all those in here. I want to use as much rock and creativity and artisticness into this fountainscape as I possibly can. And unfortunately, it didn't get translated between me saying it and me leaving and me getting back that right where all this plumbing is right where the water from the whole fountain needs to go down into the gravel. So I can't concrete the base of my fountains in without covering up the hole, and it's hard to get water to go through a hole that's covered in concrete. So all of that wrapped around in your head basically means I've got to take out all of the plumbing work that they did and put it back in the way that it needed to be done so that I can concrete these things in. I'm going to add more basalt stones in here. I'm going to add more flagstone in here. I might put some driftwood. I want to take what they've done and amp it up to the next level and then tuck it all in and tie it down. So then I move over here and I'm like, okay, well, why is the water level so high in here? There's no overflow. The only ginormous water feature I've ever built with no overflow at my house. No, I don't think so. When you're building a large scale feature, you're thinking about all these things that work together. And we've got the drain that comes in from underneath the pond from way back when, and it joins together with some other drainage and it runs right behind this log. So we have an outlet to run water into. The problem is it comes out right there. Now, I say to myself, why don't I run an overflow out of here into that pipe? I can run the drainage that I need to put in over here into the patio into that pipe, and then I can run that pipe around the corner into the downspout drain from the house that goes all the way downhill. Sounds easy if you say it fast. That is a ton of digging. Next issue that has to be addressed. We have these awesome fire features inside. Aquascape's comped me these things. They didn't pay me to put them in here or plug them in my video, but they sent me these fire nozzles and said, try these out, let us know what you think, which was super cool of them on my dad. Problem being is, when you want to turn on the gas to your fire nozzle, do you want to climb through the flower bed, pull a big rock up out of the muddy mulch, reach into a dark hole where probably spiders and nasty things live to turn your gas on? Or do you want to have a little spot right there with the key that you can just turn on and off without getting into the flower bed? So I'm gonna have to dig up the gas line that's in here in order to move that whole thing, because I would just about bet you all the money in the world that it's on the wrong side of the tree to do what I need it to do. So changes will have to be made there. Add that to the list of things to do. This is the kind of thing that takes a good water feature and makes it amazing. So I look at a lot of the detail work around the edges. When I came back, there was a hose running around the outside edge and there was actual water falling. And it was so cool to get that experience, that we're almost at that point. As the job progresses, elevations got raised, soil got brought in. My pipes for my inlets, my suction lines, almost 2 feet deep down this pipe, which means that when I come in here to do any service work, I'm gonna have to scuba dive down in here. So if I could do this over again, that's one thing I would have not done, is I wouldn't have run my water lines in until I had all my rock work done and I knew my finished elevation out here. I would have done the excavation and ran the lines in just above water level, because in a perfect water feature for me, when I get in here and have to undo a check valve or something, I don't want to be arm deep in ice cold water while I'm doing that. I just assume the elbows and the check valves be just a little above the water. It makes for a nice clean install. The liner height's that high anyway, so all that's going to be in here is an elbow and a union and a check valve down at the bottom. There's no actual moving parts down in there, so that's not a problem for me, but it is something that I can do better next time. There's something I need to say too, because my team's not here right now that's helping me build this water feature. I want to make sure you guys understand, I'm not throwing anybody under the bus. You don't know what you don't know. I didn't give them a clear laid out plan of what needed to happen while I was gone. I just sort of had a meltdown and left. So this is all just truly from the heart, me walking around saying, how can I take the things that are done and make them 100% the way that I need them to be? I've got 4 plumbing lines coming out. Now, I've talked to a few people about what it's gonna take to get the power out here and that sort of thing. There's all kinds of conduits that have to be run underground and outlets that have to be installed here and there. That's a whole nother day's worth of work that we're not even gonna talk about. But I've got my suction lines all come out right here. I'm gonna have to dig into this bank, create a big poured pad and a little hiding spot for my pumps. I want them to be easy to get to, but not easy to see. This all has to be neat, clean, tidy, very precise. The power has to come in here. All of these lines have to come into the pumps. They all have to run out and work their way up towards the top. There's a whole lot of work that has to be done here. I started counting days, guys, and I'm like, okay, well, I got a couple weeks worth of work just for John, maybe John and a helper, to do detail work and get things ready in here, because I don't want to bring the team back in for more big stuff until I have this finished down here. My goal in my brain is that when we finish the last of the rock work up there, this thing's ready to plug in. I want to turn it on. I want to see it run. And I headed to Missouri to pick out some limestones, because right before I went to North Dakota, I sold this amazing 2 waterfall fountainscapes in the same property, all out of Missouri limestone. So I asked myself a question. Since I already have Missouri limestone boulders in the splash pad up there, and since I'm already thinking outside the box and drawing outside of the lines and everything else, what if I created a 2-phase water feature here, so that the top portion, everything that you can see from the house and from the splash pad and from the above, before it comes over the negative edge, I'm gonna do everything on that side out of Missouri limestone. Then once the waterfall falls over this side, I'm gonna do everything on this side out of Tennessee mountain stone. Now people can come without noticing, until I pointed out to them, I'm sure, that there's 2 distinct types of stone being used here, that you can have A or you can have B. It's a sales thing, it's a favorite thing. Which one do you like more? Is it worth the extra value to spend more money on this stone than that stone? You guys let me know what you think. That's what I want to know, is what does the world think? Which is cooler rocks? They are both definitely distinctly different. Anyways, so I accidentally may have picked out 3 semi-loads of Missouri limestone boulders to do a project that needed about 2/3 of a semi-load of limestone boulders, and the rest of them are going to end up in this pond up here. Man, would you look at these. So the features that we sold, small to medium boulders. You'll notice most of these are not small to mediums, but man, the Missouri limestone, look at this stuff. How amazing. And specifically how I selected a lot of the rocks that I thought would work in my pond is that I pick rocks that are wide this way and give me some good vertical height. But if you look down from the top of this pallet, it's only like 16, 18 inches thick. So super important when you're working in a tiny, tight space like I've got down there is that you don't want to eat up your whole pond with these big, fat, wide rocks. Put one in every once in a while to add depth and shape, but most of the time I'm going to want to stick with these thinner stones. Look at this rock, man. Can you just imagine that with water running all over the top of it? There's holes in these things and crevices and nooks and crannies. They're just absolutely gorgeous, man. I've got one rock in here that apparently weighs about 8,000 pounds. Look what you get. This is gonna end up being a fountain, I guarantee it. I can just see these rocks and I know that a lot of these are gonna be fountain stones. All this beautiful, beautiful big boulders. Man, would you look at them. There's a specific stone I'm looking for. I remember marking it. I don't remember marking this one. That is a big, ginormous rock. This is the one I remember marking. This one, not so much, but it's pretty stinking awesome. Wow. Yeah, it's gonna be sweet. It's gonna be sweet. This is the rock. I just walked right by it looking at this one and this one. This is the one I was looking for. This is one of my main waterfalls right here. That's all I need. Water's gonna come right down through this ravine, over top of this cool old piece of metal. It's gonna come right through this crevice right here and just roll down into the water line. I'll just bury this guy into the water, maybe 6, 8 inches. Super subtle. This is kind of waterfalls I'm looking for. I don't want a bunch of splashing, crashing sound in my pond. There's already a splash pad right next to it. There's already the sound of moving water. So I don't want to overwhelm my swim pond. Most of the moving water is going to be under the water. It's going to be the jets. It's going to be the current and the circulation. The waterfalls are simply for subtle effect, and the pond is all about swimming and fish and aquatic plants. And this is going to be one of the keystones at the top level that really just gives us a simple, beautiful waterfall. I have no design for the waterfalls. I have 10,000 gallons an hour, roughly, to use for waterfalls around the back of the pond, and I can split it up any way I want. And that might end up being 5 2,000 gallon an hour ribbons. I mean, there's just no plan. I mean, my rough plan is that I'm just going with it and I'm working with the rock. So a lot of times people will ask me, why are you not doing a design? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? I'm like, I'm just not gonna be limited by design. I'm only gonna be limited by the stones that I get to build with. So whatever I can pick out, whatever I'm getting, the palette, the paints, the canvas, that's what I get. And once I have that in my hands, then I know what I can put together. And when I saw this rock, I'm like, there's 8 feet of edge right there with one of my waterfalls built right into the middle. No super effort required. So I was stoked when I saw that. I was like, we gotta have that. I don't know what that guy weighs. More than my skid steer can pick up.